Hi there. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Ryan Vanderhei, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies. Sure, these works of art entertain us, offer us an escape, and even tap into our emotions. But there's one E that's often overlooked.
You're looking at me. Oh, you know what? That's educational. If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings. I'm your co-host, Joe Parente, and it's our mission with this podcast to share these unique perspectives with you so that you can grow from the show.
The topic of today's discussion, the 2024 film, My Old Ass. And it sounds funny to say.
Yeah, it does.
And paying attention to moments before they become memories. As always, there will be spoilers ahead, so please proceed with caution. I know this just came out recently, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, come back and listen to the pod. And be sure to leave a like, rating, or review wherever it is that you listen, as it really helps the show. Shall we begin?
Yes.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Coming-of-age movies largely have been a favorite of mine.
Okay.
Movies like Boyhood, Edge of 17, Juno. I mean, I eat these movies up. I just love that these characters and they're growing. It's just such a unique time in your life that learning about adulthood and kind of transitioning into adulthood, we can all relate to that.
For me, it was Caddyshack. But anyway, keep going.
Right. And what I really love about this movie, Joe, is that it takes the coming of age genre and it tells it in a really refreshing and exciting way.
Absolutely.
I think it throws out a lot of the conventions that we're kind of used to while still maintaining just enough to do the story justice. And one of my favorite things about this movie in particular is the use of the older self, which we're going to talk about at length throughout this review here. But I had a question for you, Joe.
Okay.
A really interesting question.
Okay.
And for our listeners out there, if you met your older self, it could be any age, but in the future, your future self, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, and you can ask them only one question, what would that question be, Joe? And I can give you my answer if you need some time to think. Or you got a question ready at the top?
I can give you what I would ask.
Okay.
It's funny because I just thought of this, but I think it's a good question.
Okay.
I'd ask, do you love your life?
Damn it. Damn it, Joe.
What?
Because we're going to get into mine here, and it's going to be just about damn near the same.
Okay.
So it says a lot about us and about why we do this pod, and how we get along so well.
All right on.
And why we're friends.
Okay.
But would you like to elaborate on that a little bit? Why would that be the question? Why that question in particular? You could ask anything you want.
Because I wouldn't want to know about particulars. I'd want to know the sum of it.
Yeah.
And if the answer were hesitation or then to me that would put me like on high alert to look at what I'm doing. And because wherever we are in our lives, we've created a vector for ourselves. We're moving in a particular type of direction. All of our decisions have led to the vector that we're on. Yeah. And if my future self does not love their life, like I might be off by a few degrees.
Yep.
Which would get me here in the future instead of here.
Right.
And so, boy, would I take massive stock. I would love it if my future self, if this happens, I should say.
Yeah.
I would love if that older Joe just went, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That would be the best thing I think I could ever hear.
I think it would be a massive weight.
What a relief.
Shoulders. It would be.
That would tell you just live your life.
Yeah.
Just live your life.
You're going to be all right.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, maybe we can take mushrooms and we'll figure it out. We'll see what happens. We'll meet our older selves and we'll have a experience like like Elliot did in
taken
this
him already, but I've never met my
haven't met your older self yet.
Yeah,
It's coming.
I hope so.
It's a big strain, man. Mushroom. We got to get in contact.
Exactly.
With it.
Exactly.
But I thought a lot about that question, and we talked about this earlier today. But in previous episodes, I talked about how I used to tell people if just genie appeared and told me they wanted, they saw the future. I accomplished my goal, but I had to sacrifice everything that I would do it. And since having a change of heart where I no longer feel this way, while reflecting on this quandary, I realized that the question I would want to ask my older self is, are you happy with how you lived your life?
Right on.
I think that that's all that matters to me anymore, is that I'm happy. So sure, you can ask any number of obvious questions. Do you get married? Do you have kids?
Sure. Right.
What kind of job do you get? Did you become a professor like you wanted, or whatever it is? But if there's only one, I got one chance, I got one shot, all that stuff seems futile.
Yeah.
The only thing that really matters, the most important thing to me, is, are you happy with how you lived your life? Now, if the answer is a no, that could very easily spiral me into a massive depression that I might not be able to get out of. So it's a risky one.
It is a risky one, but you would take action.
I would take action. I would take heed. I would use that as, God, I don't know what would happen, because what would I be looking for? What signs? What am I doing something wrong now? Is there going to be something I'm going to do wrong in the future? It would raise so many questions. And I imagine this scenario would be like, no, and then poof, they're gone. I'm left to figure that out.
Yeah.
Sleep for years.
Yeah,
maybe.
probably. Which it led to your life going down the tubes because you were so worried about
That's
stuff.
what it was. It was the very
sleep and
it
the
was the
sleep
very-
deprivation, and
Right,
then
exactly. It was that moment that actually created the inception.
So don't take those shrooms, man.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away for now. So let's give them a recap, shall we? If you haven't seen the film yet, go watch it, come back. But if you've seen it and you want a little recap, here you go. So our protagonist, Elliot, played by Maisie Stella, which I thought was a beautiful performance.
Oh my God,
from her.
fantastic!
She was so subtle, so herself, so in her skin,
subtle.
and I believed her every second.
Me too.
She's freshly 18 and is preparing to move out of her small, rural, although very beautiful town of Muskoka, Ontario, to the big city of Toronto. And quite frankly, she can't wait to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
She's been a small town girl her whole life. She's ready to be a big city gal. And she doesn't spend too much time around her family, even misses her birthday dinner to be with her friends and hang out. She likes to drive her boat around, hang out with her two friends, Ro, played by Carrie Brooks, and Ruthie, played by Maddie Ziegler. She's into girls, crushing on and eventually hooking up with the local coffee shop barista. I promise that's an important part of the plot. I'm not just saying that. She's really a free spirit. And so Elliot and her friends, being free-spirited, decide one night to experiment with a little bit of psychedelic mushrooms. And boy, does this experiment turn out to be a fruitful one for her. Her friends both start feeling things, we'll say. It starts kicking in, and they kind of go off on their own. So Elliot's just left there by herself. And she's kind of like, what the heck, man? When's this thing going to kick in here? You guys are having fun. I'm here. And how she knows that the drugs have kicked in is when her future 39-year-old self appears right next to her. And that's played by Aubrey Plaza, who was wonderful, as always.
Yep. Sure was.
I just love. By the way,
me too.
Fellow Delawarean.
Yes, I knew that.
I was going to add.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aubrey Plaza.
Yep.
So what starts out as playful banter, asking all those questions we asked about, are you married? Did you have kids? Eventually turns into Elliot, the older Elliot, trying to look out for her younger Elliot, kind of taking her under her wing and giving her advice on, spending more time with family, etc., etc. And thus the rest of the movie unfolds. So let's get into our first theme here that's going to help us unravel this theme we're talking about. And that's the tent scene,
Okay.
which was great in many different respects. And we'll talk about that. So after things wind down from young and old Elliot first meeting, they climb into the tent to sleep for the night. And they have a peculiar kiss.
Yeah.
And then older Elliot gets serious, and she turns to her younger self to say, and I quote, "You are so lucky. Life will never be the same as it is right now." She tells her that she doesn't go home for Thanksgiving this year, but that she should. And then she says something super important. She says, "The only thing you can't get back is time. When you get older, it goes by so fast." Wow. I relate to this a lot. I remember being a kid and wanting so badly for some damn reason to be grown up, to be mature, to have freedom, to be independent,
Sure.
to be an adult. I gotta tell you, now as an adult, I would do anything to go back just for one day.
Yeah.
Just to feel and remember how carefree it was to be a kid. No worries, no responsibilities, no Uncle Sam breathing down your neck.
Right.
Life was good.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that it isn't now, of course, but back then, I didn't realize how good I had it. And I wish I would have soaked up more and enjoyed it more instead of spending my time wishing to be older, if that makes sense. I just felt like I couldn't wait. I wanted to just no, the next thing. Then I'm gonna be 18, and then I'm gonna be 16. I can drive. I'm gonna be 18, and then I'm an adult. And I can go to the movies, rated R or whatever. I'd be 21. I can drink. I'm always like the next thing that's coming, and I'm not realizing that, man, being a kid, there's so much innocence. There's such a carefree attitude. You're not really, at least myself, I can only speak for myself, I wasn't really self-aware yet to the degree that I am now. There's nothing to worry about. Just play with my friends. I played Xbox. I ran around. I went on my bike. My biggest worry and concern was, when am I going to see my friends next?
Right.
That was it. My parents were taking all the burden. And you don't realize that until you become older, until you do mature.
Very true.
And then you go, damn, I don't know how good I had it back then, huh?
Yep.
Did you feel like that when you were growing up? Did you God, I can't wait to be...
I did. I wanted to have freedom, if you will, and autonomy. And, the incremental things were huge to me, like getting a bike and then being able to drive the bike or ride the bike anywhere I wanted. And then getting my license and, getting those incremental steps of what it meant to be a little bit older, have a little bit more responsibility. Sure. I did want that. I think, one of the themes that's hit on with this movie is just that, taking things for granted when you're young. And I loved that. Two things are really, so many things I loved about this movie, and we'll get into it more. But one of the things was, I love that, we didn't get into the space-time continuum or general relativity about how can the older one and the younger one be, how can this be?
Yeah.
They just let's not even go there.
Yeah.
I loved that.
I respected that
That
so
there
much.
was no sci-fi element to this.
Yeah, there's no how is she doing it, how is it possible?
It's just happening. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it be.
Yeah.
I loved how the younger one really took the older one's saying, you're taking your brothers for granted. Mom is actually really cool, you know? And it was so beautiful to see the younger one shift and change and start to really look at them all and to really see them and appreciate them.
Speaks volumes to her character.
It was fantastic.
Because when you're that age, when you're a teenager especially, you're so, whatever, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play with my friends.
But it came from her.
Yeah.
Like I thought about this, like, when I was young, I nobody could tell me anything. Like,
Sure.
But if your older self came around and told you something, whoa,
You'd listen.
that would get your attention.
Exactly.
And so you could see that this was a young woman who was very bright. She was going to go to the University of Toronto, which is, I think, the best school in Canada.
Yeah.
And clearly she's very bright and capable. And she probably had that kind of feeling of, you guys can't tell me much of anything.
I'm going to be out of here soon, man.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
exactly.
kick it with my friends, get on my boat, whatever, do what I want.
Exactly. But,
And then, yeah, to your point, to have your older self kind of like, that's very jarring. That's very like, whoa, maybe I should listen to this person.
yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's future me.
Who knows better what's going on with me
Yeah.
than me?
Yeah. If you're telling me to do something, it's
Yeah.
because I should do it.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I love that.
Loved it too. I'm glad that you like this movie. I wasn't sure when I suggested it. I was like, I don't know.
And Ryan and I haven't spoken about this movie beforehand. This one caught me completely by surprise.
I texted my girlfriend the same thing.
I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the last 12 minutes of the movie, I cried like a baby.
Yeah.
I thought it was some of the best 12 minutes I've seen in a long time. Once I stopped crying and I gave myself some time, I went back and I watched those 12 minutes again.
Yeah.
Because it's just so touching. And you use the word subtle. To watch Aubrey Plaza, to watch both of, the older and younger, these actors are fantastic. And their reactions are very subtle and they're so moving.
It's so genuine.
It's so genuine. And I have a feeling, I don't know if you're going to bring up those scenes at the end. Or that scene.
We'll talk about those
so
scenes.
let's not. I don't want to get ahead of you.
But before we get there,
Yeah.
let's do a bad guy break.
Let's do it.
So, in thinking about this was a tough one to find.
Yeah.
A bad guy that kind of
Yeah.
related. And it's not really a bad guy. So just, grant me that.
I will.
This was a tough one to find something that was kind of along this similar path. But I thought about just that kind of that theme of like, if you knew something from the future, or if you found out something, like if you could change it or if it's too late, kind of that similar viewpoint. So the year that this television series debuted was in 2016, and it ran until 2020. Okay. The genre is fantasy comedy. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The setting is the afterlife. And the actor is Kristen Bell.
Got it. Now I got it.
Yeah. So this is Eleanor Shellstrup. I hope I'm saying that right. From the TV show The Good Place. Who finds herself in the good afterlife, assuming that she would have ended up in the bad one.
Right.
And then she, realizes through, this sort of profound experience that she went about her life pretty selfishly and comes to regret not becoming a better person a lot sooner. So this profound experience moved her to realize, man, I should have been better in my life.
Right. Then she actually would have gone to the good place.
She really would have gone to the good place. Yeah, exactly.
Kristen Bell, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
She's great.
She's so good.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of the
That show was very clever.
Yeah.
Ted Danson too, man.
And such great comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really well written.
Really well written, funny moments.
Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it is. Good one.
Yeah, that was the one. I was like, how can I find?
Yeah, I like it.
Kind of lines up to
it does.
what we're talking about here.
I like it.
So, let's get back into another scene, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's get back to my old ass. The mom scene. This one got me a little bit. So, about 2/3 of the way through the film, Elliot goes outside to sit by her mother. Again, you spoke about how older Elliot said, your mom's cool. You should hang out with her more. So she goes outside and sits by her mother in a beautiful scenery, man. God, every time, as I'm watching this, I'm just like, I want to go to this place.
No
I need to take a vacation.
Yeah.
And her mom starts to reminisce about when Elliot was younger. She tells a story about how she used to have to do an entire elaborate process to get her to sleep as a baby. But one day, little Elliot asked for the crib, laid down, smiled, and fell asleep. The mom says, and I quote, "I was so proud of you because you didn't need me to get you to sleep anymore. But in that moment, I realized that I wasn't going to get to rock you anymore."
Yeah.
And I guess that's how I feel now. Really proud of you, but also a little bit sad. Because obviously her baby girl's about to go off to college.
That's right.
So I'm proud of you for becoming a woman and for going off and doing wonderful things with your life and pursuing your dreams and goals, and you're so bright and smart. But it's that empty nest syndrome, right? You're leaving the nest. You don't need me anymore.
That's right.
And I'm not a parent. I can imagine what that would feel like and how difficult that would be to come to terms with. That's been for 18 years. That's been your
devotion,
your existence, your almost purpose is to guide this child into the world, and now your job's done.
Yeah, the paradox of getting them ready for the launching time, and when they launch, how profoundly paradoxical that must be.
Absolutely. And really, this scene made me think about something profound that we don't realize it sometimes in the moment, but there's going to be the last time you see someone.
That's right.
It's going to be the last time you talk to someone. There's going to be the last sleepover you have at your friend's house.
That's right.
We all had it was the last one.
Yep.
Last time you take your dog for a walk.
Yep.
It's there. That moment exists. But it's only in hindsight that we realize that moment became a memory.
That's right. You didn't know it as it was happening.
As it's happening, it's just another moment. It's just another life experience.
That's right.
You're just walking a dog. You're just talking to that person. You call them.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation.
Yep.
It's only later on that you realize, damn, that was the last time. I never was there again. I never spoke to them again, or I never saw them again.
And watching this movie really made me think about to see if I could remember the last time I rode my 10-speed over to my friend Doug's house. And it's like, well, that would have been around freshman year before I had a car, and there's no way I knew that the last time was the last time. And quite frankly, I probably would have thought, hell yeah, let's get rid of this bike. I'm ready for the car.
Right, exactly.
But if you could look back at it now, boy, you would look at that so differently.
Yeah. You might hang on to those handlebars a little bit longer.
Exactly.
You might take a longer look at it before you walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we do know of things that are the last time, and I'm sure all of us have those kind of things burned into our brains.
Sure.
But I just loved that point in this movie. One of several beautiful points was if you're paying a little bit more attention to everything and to the people and the things that mean a lot to you in your life, you might not let that last time just completely slip away unknowing, unconscious of it.
Beautifully put. And I'm glad you said that, because this sort of realization of that can really help us live in the moment more.
Yeah.
And appreciate the present as it's unfolding.
Right.
When I'm looking back at my life, I think I've kind of always had this mindset, or at least a little bit in the back of my brain, because I remember my last day of high school, and I asked to go to the bathroom just so I could walk the halls alone.
I like it.
Really look around.
Good for you.
Really soak it in so that I would remember.
Good for you.
And now I have such a vivid painting in my mind of the halls. I could tell you, I could walk you through it on a walkie-talkie if you were there. Here's, you're going to take a left and you're going to be in C Wing and you're going to go, like, I could do it. And those are some of my favorite moments in life, when I do realize it's the last one.
For me too.
To be able to...
For me too.
Time kind of stands still a little bit.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like everything stops. And you have a unique perspective where you're just here right now. And you can kind of look around and take it all in and then build that memory in your head. Man, I loved that this movie brought that out of me. And I loved that made me reminisce about those kinds of times in my life.
I hear you. You're just, what you're saying, I completely relate to. Again, another way you and I can relate to each other. And I had a friend give me some really excellent advice about my mom and dad. And it might sound kind of rough, but he said, there's going to be a last time. And that last time is coming sooner than later. And my parents lived up in Santa Rosa when I lived in San Francisco. And every time I left, I consciously thought this could be the last time, because one of those times, it was the last time.
Sure.
And I'll forever be able to see my mom standing in the doorway waving.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I saw her.
Wow, that's profound, man. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Ooh.
That's deep. that's very moving. And knowing it, having that perspective, you were able to, I think, appreciate those last couple of years with them more.
Oh my God, yes.
Because you knew just that mindset, just having that mindset is like, I'm going to make this trip, this weekend with them the best. And even if I see them next weekend, at least I'll know.
That's right.
That if it is the final time, that's why it's so important. My grandmother, I asked her, she's recently celebrated like 50 years marriage. I said, how'd you do it? How'd you make it so long? You never go to sleep angry.
Yeah. Oh, good one.
You never go to bed mad at each other, no matter what. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. I think a lot of people harbor, maybe people that are listening, harbor a ton of regret. Because maybe the last time they spoke to someone, they were yelling at them. Or it was an argument. Or it was a disagreement.
Yeah, because
you're squirming a little bit.
Didn't happen to me, but can I tell you a quick story?
Okay, thank God it didn't happen to you. I was like, I hope I didn't just hit a point.
It brought back a memory. Do you mind if I throw
Sure,
it
absolutely.
out there? A college roommate of mine didn't get along with his father so much that he didn't live in the house like his junior, senior, like he lived far away from the high school, and he would commute because he wanted to be away from his dad.
Wow.
So he goes home. He and his dad have a massive argument, yelling. The dad walks out the door and drops dead of a heart attack. Oh, when my roommate finally told me that after a lot of drinks one time, it's like, oh, that explains so much to me about him.
Yeah.
And to live with that. And I'll never forget when he told me I had to cover my face because I just tears were flying out of my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel terrible. I mean, that's to live with that, that's gotta be tough to reconcile with.
I don't know how he does.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he has.
I don't know if he has either. It might just not be ever a point of.
Right. And this movie is like the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's such a fantastic celebration.
Yeah.
Of life right now.
100%.
Yeah. I could go on and on about this movie.
Let's lighten it up here.
Okay.
We got a little deep there.
Yeah, sorry.
A little sad there. Sorry, folks. Let's lighten it up with a little bit of a fun fact about the movie, huh?
Okay.
So, the idea for this movie, written and directed by Megan Park, came from her visiting her childhood bedroom and finding a letter that she had written to her future self. This experience sparked the idea of the questions that you might ask your older self of what you've experienced. I just thought that was great. I mean, it's always fun to hear where the idea came from.
Yeah.
I think that's why so many people ask, where did you get the idea?
Yeah.
Because it is fascinating to know that, you go home and this is weird. I wrote a letter to my older self, and then reading it being like, wow.
Yeah.
I wished for 2 kids, and I wished for, am I happy in my job? And blah, blah, is mom still, whatever. It's funny to imagine what that experience might stir up.
She took that and ran with it because boy, did she write a beautiful film.
Yeah, she did such a great job.
Really great job.
She wrote a really beautiful film with really great characters.
Yeah.
and did a great job directing as well. Some really good choices and some fantastic just techniques.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really respect it.
Yeah, me too.
So let's get back
Yeah. Please, I'm so curious what scene you're going to bring up.
to the scene of all scenes, to the climax, to the pinnacle, to the top of the mountain. You've already alluded to this before, but we're going to talk about our Chad reveal here. So for
good.
context, I know I didn't have it in my recap, but Chad is a summer worker at the
On the cranberry
farm that her
Yep.
family owns.
Yep.
So he's just there for the summer. And one of the things that older Elliot had told younger Elliot,
Like the biggest.
the number one, if there's nothing else you listen
right.
to, listen to this, was to stay away from a boy named Chad. No matter what, just stay away from him. And she keeps saying this throughout the film. And it's young Elliot's so confused. She keeps seeing him and she's trying to stay away from him. And she's like, ugh. But he's such a sweet, genuine, kind soul. And he just wants to do the right thing and help her out and be there for her. And he's just such a pleasant human being.
Yeah. And he's really patient with
He's
her.
very patient.
Yeah.
And at some point, she goes on a bit of hiatus, old Elliot. And we don't hear from her or see from her for a while.
4 days. Seemed
4
like
days.
much longer.
Seemed like way longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then towards the end of the film, older Elliot appears again. But only after young Elliot has fallen for our dear Chad. They've had a lot of experience together. They've kissed, they've made love,
Mm-hmm.
and she's fallen head over heels for Chad. Young Elliot presses older Elliot for the reason that she's been asking her to stay away from him for tell me what he did. She keeps saying, tell me what he did. Just tell me what he did. What is this bad thing? Like, what does he do to me? You know, God, I can't imagine him doing anything terrible. And after many failed attempts of asking older Elliot, she confesses that Chad dies. And she says, and I quote, "He dies after you have fallen so madly in love with him that you can't see straight."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't want her to have to go through what she did. She says even, she begs and pleads to her like, it's so hard. It's so hard. You can't imagine how hard it is. Like, you don't want that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think she says literally, you don't want that. And this is what I loved.
Me too.
This is what I loved the most.
So good.
Is that young Elliot takes a beat. She takes a good minute.
She took about 3 beats.
She took about 3 beats to really understand what she was just told, to really soak it in. And then she says, you know what? No, I'm going to love him.
I'm going to love him hard.
I'm going to love him for however long he has.
Yep.
And old Elliot says, of course, you're just saying that because you're young and dumb.
The reply back is awesome.
To which Elliot replies, and I quote,
Yeah. Yeah.
"If you weren't young and dumb, you'd never be brave enough to do anything. You'd never enjoy spending time with someone because you'd just be thinking about the day, how they're going to die someday."
Wow.
Woo-wee,
Wow.
what a, like you said, those 12 minutes, man. God, you're the whole time you are thinking like, what is he going to do? He's going to rape her? What kind of weird, messed up shit is this guy going to do? This Chad guy.
Yeah.
He seems so innocent.
Yeah.
It's just weird. And then when she, kind of sort of blurts out, finally, like, he dies, okay? Oh, it hurts.
And her decision to love him anyway. And then her saying, the young and dumb, and yeah, but if you're not young and dumb, you're not brave enough to do anything. I got to tell you, that hit home so hard.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I've done in my life that if I knew how hard they were going to be, I don't know if I would have had the spine to do them.
100%.
And I just loved how quickly young Elliot came back with that, like to say, being young and dumb is my superpower.
Yeah.
And I loved how older Elliot's like, whoa.
Yeah, she was affected by what she said. She understood. She got it. And I think she was impressed.
Oh,
with younger her.
Definitely impressed.
Yeah.
And we heard that in the voiceover at the end.
Sure.
You know, that she thought she was going to be teaching the younger one. And it's like, wait a minute.
It was really the younger one who taught her something.
Yeah.
About her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this really calls into a question here. Ignorance is bliss. We're all going to die one day. Our parents, friends, significant others, nobody's different. We have to have some level of ignorance. Otherwise, we would never, like young Elliot says, enjoy spending time with anyone.
Well, she said you'd never get out of bed. And I think she's absolutely right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Why would you would never leave the house?
Right.
If you knew.
Maybe that's it. You'd never leave the house.
If you knew, we're all aware that we're going to die one day. But if you spent every waking moment thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die one day, you'd never leave.
Or am I going to do it right? Or trying to, instead of just living your life and loving it. Yeah.
And this scene for me brought up a fascinating question, one that's been explored in another absolutely beautiful film, one of my favorite movies of all time, Arrival. If you haven't seen it, we'll have to do an episode on that at some point. But if you knew that the person you were with was going to die sooner than of old age, I'll say, because we all know everyone's going to die, but sooner, would you still see it through? Would you still do it anyway?
Is that a rhetorical question?
It's an interesting question to ask. She has the opportunity to save herself from the immense amount of pain that she is going to go through when he passes away.
Yeah.
I mean, extraordinary.
Yeah. And I think, older Elliot got to see the wisdom of the younger Elliot.
Absolutely.
It's if you're going to really love somebody, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because what she was feeling, you could tell she'd never felt that way about anybody, particularly a boy.
Of course, yeah, because we know that she was interested in women.
Yeah.
And then this kind of threw her for a loop. She was so confused. Like,
absolutely didn't see it coming. And she'd been warned. And yet she felt that compelled.
Yeah.
Which I thought was also beautiful, because who can say what love is and what that other person is evoking and touching within them.
Yeah.
And you could really see it. And I was like, a young actress really showing that so beautifully.
Yeah. And it broke my heart too when he reappears.
I was going to bring this up if you didn't.
And old Elliot's there, and as we know, she's seeing him again after he dies. She had to go through that, experience that. Now here he is in the flesh in front of her, talking to her. And she gives him a hug.
He puts his arms out.
Yeah.
Because she said, I'm going to leave. And he's like, no. And she insists. So he puts his arms out.
And she goes in for the hug, and you could just tell.
Oh,
Aubrey played it beautifully. You could just tell on her face how much that meant to her, and she didn't want to let go.
And she quietly, tears are running down her face.
Yeah. Yeah.
That made me cry so hard.
Oh, man, me too. I was like, I gotta pause this. I gotta.
Bald.
Oh, even the second.
Bald.
Even when I went back and I was, watching the scene again to discuss it more at length here. Even just skipping to that part and playing it, it even still choked me up. I'm going, man,
You've got a heart, right?
This is so moving. Just this entire scene, how it all plays out.
It's so moving, because I don't know. I've had quite a few loved ones pass away, and to think about having the opportunity to give them a hug.
Oh,
it's part of what hit me so hard. And the way Aubrey Plaza played that. So I loved watching the older Elliot as Aubrey Plaza, watching her younger self and Chad interact. And
she remembers.
And she was loving seeing how they interacted. And the look on her face was priceless.
Lights out, man. That's a damn good actress.
That's a damn good actress, because it's not like there was a lot of wrinkling of the face and whatever. It was very subtle. And it was completely in the eyes. And boy, the last 12 minutes.
The last 12 minutes, man. The reveal, oh man, how it all plays out. Yeah, just really touching, really heartwarming. And again, makes you think about one day,
Yeah,
moments are going to turn into memories.
that's right. And isn't that why we love movies?
Absolutely. Like stuff like this that makes us
Stuff like
ponder
this.
and think about our own lives and realize things about ourselves and change maybe things. And yeah, that's the beautiful part. It's the power of art in general.
So true. So true. And this is a beautiful work of art.
It is. So if you liked My Old Ass and you want to see 5 more movies like it, here's 5 you can watch right now. The Edge of 17, starring Haley Steinfeld. That's on Amazon Prime. Call Me By Your Name, starring Timothy Chalamet. That's on Max. Lady Bird, starring Saoirse Ronan. That is on Max as well. Book Smart, starring Caitlin Dever. That's on Prime. And then a new film, Dee Dee, starring Isaac Wang. And you can watch that on Peacock.
Right on.
So, what did we learn from watching the movie My Old Ass, Joe? Well, we learned that doing mushrooms can lead to profound breakthroughs. Some trips might even result in living out our Justin Bieber fantasies. And perhaps a chance to kiss our own selves on the lips. Because that's what everyone wants to do, right?
Or fill up the old ass.
Really feel up our old ass. But seriously, what it teaches us is that we should spend more time enjoying the present and forgetting about the future. That you never know when a moment is going to become a memory. So we should all try to love the people closest to us as best we can, because one day they're not going to be around anymore, and we're going to wish that they were. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.